So, look, let's start with this report of yours. You're advocating building on greenbelt land. It's not a new idea, is it? It's an idea that's been sort of promoted in the past. Why do you think your report and what you're suggesting is going to get a bit more traction?
If you take 3.9% of the greenbelt around London, so a very, very small amount, you could provide 1 million new homes, and this has been pointed out by others, but it is worth pointing out again because people have this vision of the greenbelt as all being an area of outstanding natural beauty, and a lot of it isn't. Some greenbelt land is essentially land around railway stations of no intrinsic beauty, and we've made former business sites greenbelt in recent years, and I think that's a mistake. We need to be able to redevelop brownfield sites and provide houses for people whilst protecting the most beautiful bits of the countryside and not allowing urban sprawl. And this isn't impossible or contradictory.
You mentioned the brownfield sites as well that you want to talk about, because clearly what a lot of the reports that we've had over the last few years is that if the number of brownfield sites that there are up and down the country were done up and sorted out, then that actually would solve the problem much quicker than using greenbelt. Because the problem you're suggesting is greenbelt isn't just disused car parks around the odd train station here and there. The fear is, of course, that as soon as you start opening up more greenbelt to be built on, it would start permeating into those areas that are beautiful. And all the developers want to use the beautiful land because they know that's going to attract people to buy their houses. And if they could be asked or forced to develop more of these brownfield sites, then actually they would turn this around much quicker.
Well, but you've got brownfield sites that are protected by the green belt designation. So it's important to remember that green field and green belt are not the same. So you can have an area in the green belt that is not, in fact, a green field, that is scrub land or poor quality land or industrial land. And you've got development restrictions on things that are ripe for development. And that seems to me to be a mistake. And actually, you might protect green fields if you allowed a little bit of development in the green belt. And I'm talking about 3.9%. So 96.1% of the green belt would remain protected.
Well, talking of developments, we're going to have a new Prime Minister tomorrow, and it looks like it's going to be Boris Johnson. Have you had a call yet for a job in his cabinet?
No, I don't think there are any vacancies in Pyongyang, so I'm not holding my breath.
What?
I'm not holding my breath. I don't think I'm very happy as representing North East Somerset.
Okay, so you don't think you're going to get a job in the cabinet after all the support?
This is about what is in the national interest. Nothing to do with me. It's about leaving the European Union on the 31st of October.
Would you turn one down, then, if he did offer?
To do that. No, I'll do anything I can to support Boris Johnson. I think he is the right choice for the country and will do an excellent job as Prime Minister. And if he wants me to do something, of course, I'll do it.
The rumours are, Jacob, that Rees-Mogg, that there's a place in the Treasury that you've been earmarked for, that someone of your skill set would be perfect in that role. Is that something you could see yourself doing?
Look, you're very flattering, but these will be decisions for Boris and not for me. I will serve Boris in any way he wants me to.
Well, of course, you and other members of the RG were definitely a thorn in Theresa May's side in terms of getting her deal through. You were absolutely against it and blocked it, and it didn't happen. It looks like, on the other side, from Boris's perspective, a group is forming. We hear up to 6 ministers might resign because they probably would get sacked by Boris, but they're going to resign and go to the backbenches and make sure that no deal can't happen. What will you say if that happens? Because it will be hard for you to say that they should be loyal to their Prime Minister, won't it?
What I would say to them is, if this is their position, why did they vote for the Article 50 Act and the Withdrawal Act? That both of those acts provided for the default position being leaving without a deal if a deal hadn't been agreed. And they were members of the government at the time. So when they were in government, did they not know what they were doing? Did they not know the manifesto that they stood on in 2017? They ought to have been clear beforehand, and they ought not to have voted for these laws that leave the default that we go on the 31st of October, come what may.
Should the entire cabinet be made up of Brexiteers?
No, I mean, it's not for me to say who should be in the cabinet, but as a general principle, parties are all coalitions, and it is important to bind the coalitions together and to recognise that you need to represent each part of the party within any cabinet.
If we may, just one other thing I'd like to talk to you about, because, of course, we've just been enjoying a wonderful summer of sports with the golf yesterday and the netball that's been just sensational, the Ashes between England and Australia in the women's game. But, of course, the World Cup cricket game, which we know you were watching and enjoyed. And then you made a tweet, Jacob Rees-Mogg, your tweet that you put out just after the finish, ADN, close run thing, we clearly don't need Europe to win.
Yes.
Do you feel like you misjudged sending that tweet? Because, of course, as many people pointed out to you, the captain of the England team is Irish. The South African opener, a West Indian fast bowler, Ben Stokes himself, one of the heroes on the day, was born in New Zealand. And that's, as lots of people pointed out, was a much better reflection of what we have here in the UK.
Yeah. Dare I say, the New Zealand, the West Indies and South Africa are not parts of the European Union.
No, of course.
But the captain was, and we couldn't have done it without him. And you said we could.
It was a little joke that wound up lefties, and I'm sorry that lefties have no sense of humour, but that's an end of it.
Do you think it was simply just to... You did it just to wind up lefties?
It was a little joke. I think you're over-analysing it.
So you did realise that the captain was Irish then?
Of course I knew that Mr Morgan is an Irishman. That's
so you were being ironic? Were you being ironic because clearly we did need Europe because we needed an Irishman as the captain?
He's chosen to play for England. He therefore plays as an Englishman. He just had a choice to play for Ireland, and there's a test match back against Ireland coming up on Wednesday.
What did you mean then when you said we didn't need Europe? Sorry to be dense, but I don't really understand.
Because you're over-analysing this. This was a little joke. But I'm afraid the left don't find humour at all funny ever. I mean, it's just ridiculous over-analysing of a little quip.
I don't think it's just the left, though. I think everybody was quite surprised that you would take a moment like that of celebration for the country and turn it into a political statement.
Frankly, I think you're just being silly. I don't think this is a point at all.
Interesting stuff. We obviously always appreciate your honesty, Jacob Rees-Mogg. It's one of the reasons we enjoy interviewing you so much.
You're good to have me on. Thank you.
We will continue to have you on.
We're delighted to.
Particularly when you get that call from Boris, whether it comes from Pyongyang or wherever it might come from.
Don't hold your breath.
All right, Jacob Rees-Mogg.
I've been called silly by many people, but you did it very charmingly. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
So just a little silly quip.
Silly, Benja.
Just a silly quip. I'm not sure it was taken that way.